Hello and good afternoon. So we're going to try to make this session as interesting as possible, knowing that a lot of you had a lot maybe for lunch. What makes this session super interesting is the fact that we'll be covering the enterprise adoption of blockchain. The nice spin is that we're not focusing on a single industry. You'll be able to see that we have cross-industry experts that are going to be discussing what kind of use cases they deployed blockchain for, what are the hurdles in the adoption, how can we make it better, and maybe looking into their crystal ball of how the future would look like. So I think the first thing that I would like to do is to go around and ask each one of you to basically give us a quick round of introduction of how do you deploy blockchain and what is the enterprise that you're representing. George.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. I'm George. I represent Bank of Georgia. I'm currently Chief Crypto Officer, this direction is completely new at Bank of Georgia. A lot of people misunderstand the company itself. They think it's a national bank. It's not. If you add national in the front, that would become our regulator, National Bank of Georgia. I represent the largest commercial bank in Georgia, listed on London Stock Exchange, and we are researching and piloting some projects. To the extent that I can disclose, we are interested in crypto spot trading without deposit withdraw functionality due to regulatory reasons initially, tokenization and using blockchain in a loyalty space. I'm happy to be here. I'm also involved a little bit in education. I'm an adjunct lecturer at several universities and happy to, with our colleagues, discuss and probably contribute to this panel.
Thank you, Maher.
Sure. Maher Al Kaabi. We actually outsource our blockchain development to other companies, but I will be sharing what we do in the UAE, particularly Dubai, which became the #1 city, actually the first government, completely all the services are actually on blockchain, so I'll give you a journey on that. But a quick history on the group of companies that I sit as an independent board member, Asakal Group. It's a family which has been there for 165 years. They've been behind many of the iconic companies that we have today. They're co-founder of Etisalat, telecommunication company, which is the 10th, 12th largest globally. We're behind the first bank, Emirates NBD, CBD, second bank. We're behind the we're behind the Dubai Electricity Water Authority. We co-founded that. Dubai and Sharjah Electricity and Water Authority, the first insurance company, Dubai Insurance. We co-founded Pepsi as well. We're into the metro business where we do actually OEM for the metro business. We are the sole agent for Etihad Rail, which looks after the rail network for the entire country and also within GCC. We do smart mobility. We have the first plant and the only one in the Middle East which recycle food establishment waste. We're also opening up another plant, hopefully by next month, under commissioning as we speak, converting used cooking oil into biofuel. We do smart mobility with the government as well, and so forth. We also have a passion for education. So I sit on the board of schools as a governor, as a chairman of schools. We have about 60,000 children, both locally and internationally. And I think this is kind of a brief of what we do. So probably on to you, Goflang.
Welcome.
Amazing how you remember all that. Yeah, Wolfgang Reber, Sun AG from Switzerland. We're in the food business. We're running a company, basically 100 million in revenue at the moment. And we're very happy that we could include blockchain into our ecosystem by separating a product from a reward system. And that gave us a huge boost. So happy to be here.
Aditya.
Hi, I'm Aditya from Medifact. Actually, I belong to the healthcare industry. For the last 15 years, we have been working in the healthcare space, mostly on the B2B space. Our initial implementation on the blockchain was the simple supply chain management system for drug traceability, and then we slowly started to bring in the blockchain into clinical research, and then hospital phase where electronic health records were put into on the blockchain, and slowly now we are trying to integrate all these things and actually work with a lot of other businesses on how we can actually improve the blockchain usage everywhere.
So, I'm Kritik, I'm from India, and I belong to HBlock, co-founder and head of engineering. And what we are trying to build is a decentralized network where we give importance to multi-signature accounts and multi-signature transactions. So we have seen a lot of potential and the ability to handle transactions, and we also know multiple blockchain networks have been facing these issues, and we are resolving it, and we are the first of kind interoperable multi-sig transactions as well. And so I want to put on a badge and say We achieved Mars orbiter mission just by saving the fuel. So why not try the same with multi-signatures and securing the gas fees that we spent on every transaction? So that's the idea behind HedgeBlock. Thank you. And
Thank you so
executive.
much. So I don't know if you agree that we have finally moved after years from the usual proof of concept to proof of value, looking into different use cases. Are your projects all live? Giorgio? Yes.
Yeah. There are several directions. So for crypto spot trading, like Bank of Georgia has the second most popular application in Georgia after Facebook, because we bank about 1.6 million people are monthly active users of our application. And if you see at Georgia's population, which is about 3.7 million, that's a big number. Our mobile banking application is more than just a digital banking app, because we call it a financial super app. It can do a lot of stuff. We introduced fractional stock trading 3 years ago, which proved to be a very successful project, and crypto is just next logical step forward, you know. That's the time when we thought we needed to edit this kind of offering. Unfortunately, due to local and international regulations, there are certain things that restrict us from full-scale launch. But as I said, crypto spot trading without deposit and withdraw functionality, just like what Revolut did back in 2020, is a possibility, and we believe that we're gonna launch it by the end of this year. For tokenization, we are currently in advanced research phase. We have a strong corporate franchise, as well as I told you, retail franchise, and connecting them is a big opportunity. So connecting our corporate and our retail customers with each other. And lots of our corporates have a great commercial real estate portfolio, and lots of our retail users would like to have exposure to commercial real estate. However, they don't have enough tickets, one by one, to actually have some meaningful investments. That's why we believe that tokenization is a great thing to bridge this gap and basically make these commercial real estates more liquid, and also help corporates to raise funds and do some other projects while not selling their portfolio outright, but selling, tokenizing and selling 40 or 50% of their commercial. I'll stop there and maybe I'll continue later.
I'll turn to Maher now, because I feel like you've covered education, governmental applications, etc. Are all of these projects also live?
Sure. Let me just give a background about blockchain, because a lot of people, whenever we talk about blockchain, usually our mind goes to cryptocurrencies, right?
Correct.
So we're talking about blockchain 2.0, which started in 2014, but blockchain actually predates to 1991 when the cryptography actually happened, but the 2009 application happens when the Bitcoin was really released. But 2014 was where the blockchain happened for the businesses, and that was very, very important. So the banks I was associated with, I was working with as well, which has adopted blockchain as well. But let me just take back to the government what they did. In 2016, the Dubai government realized the importance of the blockchain, and they said, look, we have to do something about it in terms of to automate all our services. So they came up with something called Global Group Blockchain Council, and they collaborated with private sectors, government entities, and banks to establish the strategy of blockchain for Dubai. How do we offer services completely seamlessly for people without using paper? So strategy after strategy was implemented. So the vision was, how do we make sure by 2020 that all our government services in Dubai will be completely paperless, will be on a blockchain, will be seamless? What's the difference with that? Earlier, every single government body, we have 15 government bodies in Dubai, and all of them are keeping your data in their own central databases. That makes it very challenging. But when you centralize the entire thing on a blockchain, that means you have one truth of the version that you have about you. So that automatically made sure your data you have very much reliable. So they start working on it. Some of the examples, which probably can see those who are living in UAE, today if you go to healthcare, any healthcare provider, whether it's a clinic, whether it's a government hospital, your data is available now online, regardless where hospital, which clinic and which hospital you visited, whether it's government or private. Why? Because of the blockchain being there. So now you have ease of access of having data. The other, of course, if you were visiting a UAE or if you're now opening a business over here, you have to go to the Dubai Economic Department to open your licenses. Earlier, you had to visit so many other various services to be offered by various departments. Now, with a single version truth we have, because everything is on blockchain, you get to see all the data available in these things. And similarly, if you go to, for example, car manufacturing, when you import a car over here, all the way till the car changes hands, you get to know the entire history on a blockchain today. Similarly, every single service you see in Dubai is on blockchain. There are about 1,800 services offered by the Dubai government. 95.5% are on blockchain today, and that has made it extremely easy. Of course, 3 years ago or 4 years ago, His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed, the Crown Prince of Dubai, launched saying a vision that we would like to be completely as a government paperless. Now, if we did not have blockchain, we would have not been able to do it. So you now cannot even take a single paper to the government because the reviews of transaction, everything is online completely.
Beautiful. Wolfgang, moving to you from agriculture and food industry.
Yes, so for us it was also very important to use the blockchain technology for several reasons. One of them was that we didn't need to add the marketing cost or distribution cost to a product, which made actually our product half the price of competitors. And so by moving our reward system onto the blockchain, we increased our revenues within 1 year by 40-fold, so 40. And it also gave us the opportunity with an access token, which is basically an utility token. If the owner of such a token goes onto our website, he can redeem a product without using fiat currency, which in the future, we don't know what will happen with some of the financial systems in the world. If somebody has that token, he can access food, because our food can be delivered easily by delivery services, by UPS or whatever there is available. So it also proves and delivers a type of security, food security, which I believe the soil is not distributed evenly, so it gives some people there some ease of mind. Holding that token is also interesting because if there is inflation, which sometimes happens in the industry, our token is pegged to food and not to money. The problem is if something is pegged to money and the money goes through inflation down the tube, then people are stuck. They need some stamps, food stamps, to access food. And with our solution, there could be in the future opportunity that people can access food easily through that token. So that was one part we implemented, and then the other part was for marketing reasons. We created a token which is 100% deflationary, which should be a very exciting story. We increased already by 10-fold. And we got a great community of a few thousand people already, and so we're very happy and proud that we can implement this and use it around the world, so that we are not also stuck with in one government with distribution. So it's really worldwide available.
Thank you, Aditya.
Yeah, actually, taking from Maher's, that almost all of the healthcare data is on blockchain in Dubai, which is a great thing, because that's a dream for any country to be in that space. And obviously, the access to the data is very challenging for us because we are in a slightly different space from the healthcare industry, because there is also life sciences industry where a lot of data is being used in terms of research with the pharmaceutical companies, these insurance companies, and then this data is not accessible to the lot of outside world. But still, there's also biggest challenge that we see in terms of how we actually use this data across the borders. That's the biggest challenge in which, if you have EU or US, they have all these regulations that you cannot actually port the data from one country to another country. I think this is where I think all these governments need to collaborate, because Dubai needs to be a role model in that way, so that, because you said that we are paperless because of blockchain industry. right? Because of implementation on blockchain. And I'm sure you would be able to share your data because it's on blockchain to other countries as well. This is the biggest challenge in terms of how we port the data across the borders. And then that's where we see the challenge that we have to implement different regulatory strategies in how we collect the data, how we process the data, and then how we actually submit the data to each regulatory body because it's not on blockchain. And then we started doing it in a very small setups where pharmaceutical companies, just because they have to come and do something more innovative and then show that they are more transparent because of their corporate social responsibility or whatever, they actually started to implement blockchain in certain areas where they could actually show that their drug research is going in a right way. They are actually taking care of all this data in a right way. But this data is still actually pretty close. It's all on a private blockchain. So it's still not being shared across unless and until the research gets approved. So these are the few challenges. I think this is very, we would love to actually have something, all the healthcare data, especially on the hospital side, to be on the blockchain so that other countries, if we have to create this kind of a model in nearest all the GCC countries, it would be easy to approach and actually use this data for research because you know who is accessing it, at what time, and then you have complete control on data, and you know that it's not being used in a different way. So I think that's a great way, but the place where we are at is mostly on the B2B side. Of course, we would love to move on to the B2G side where the government has implemented this kind of blockchain and then it's more easier to access. But unfortunately, that's not the case with the corporates or the enterprises that are using blockchain. They're still closed data and the access is pretty limited in terms of how we can actually use it for research and implement other technologies across the borders.
Very valid points.
So I can't explain more about than finance than Maher Al Kaabi, so I try to share my knowledge on it. If we go a little back, the payment that I've made is between post and we moved forward to digital. So there are a lot of areas which haven't been adapted to the electronical or internet payments. But if we are introducing something newer, so the better way, what I believe is to give the solution other than the technology behind it. So we have seen a lot of group of people where I'm trying to convince them the better way what a blockchain technology could provide than other solutions here. In finance, there are not just the banking sectors or a transaction between two members. The way that how others see is a little complicated in blockchain. So I couldn't get my uncle to compromise on utilizing the blockchain technology as it is more secure or whatever others could think of it. So a little break from the communication between me and my uncle. So where we finalized the existing sectors or existing banking, where we tried to remove them, what would be the reason for it? So the end users will address the way of seeing its transparency in knowing what exactly is happening between. So if is there any issue between a transaction, so I could rely on someone. So the best way of removing the entire third party inside it would be the better option. The problems between these are, there is a term called trilemma in blockchain. So either we compromise any one of it. So if we are going with decentralization scalability, so we have to drop any one. So the next one is security. Either we would share our private contents or private data to others so that anyone can see it. So this is all the trilemmas which is between this blockchain technology where others would agree upon. So if moving from the financial sectors, these would be a better way of solving all these three things would be a little easier and would be better for the users as well.
Thank you so much. I think there are some challenges for blockchain adoption, and we have to be very realistic about them. It's not a walk in the park. So the usual things that we usually hear about blockchain obstacles are the usual security, data quality, interoperability, what else? Fraud, governance. So there are a number of challenges. And there are certain use cases by which in some governmental institutions or financial services institutions, the the very idea of using public blockchains is completely scary. So based on your experience, what are the main challenges that are hindering the proper adoption of blockchain? And do you really see an issue when you're adopting public permissionless chains? Again, starting with George.
Yeah, Italian, Georgian, Jordan.
Sorry.
No problem. So basically, from my perspective, the challenges that you mentioned are quite real. But we sometimes forget that blockchain industry itself is quite young. We want it to behave, to be as developed as, for example, internet is, while we are somewhere in the 90s of internet development.
Yes.
compared to blockchain. But the pace of development is much faster. And one of the biggest challenges that could be mentioned is obviously the interoperability, so the utility of potential usage of it, and education on the other side. Whenever, for example, bank transactions happen, when you tap your card and money is automatically deducted and going through different correspondent banks and Visa, MasterCard, or any other provider, how to say, corrects a ledger, deducts from you, the debits or credits somewhere else. We don't think about it like we don't think how complicated it is. We just use it, right? And sometimes, I don't know why, but people expect to understand full scope of how blockchain works, even though they can just use it, Sure. And in order to use it, however, it must be UX, UI, first of all, needs to be better, and there are certain, let's say, initiatives and certain companies who are moving into the right direction. But we need to also explain that it's not required to fully understand the technology in order to be a user, in order for your life to make it easier. And that's where first of all, the new startups, new technology developers come in, and on the other side, proper regulation comes in, because now it's like, as was mentioned, when you think about blockchain, you just directly go to cryptocurrencies. Yeah. While there are so many use cases Absolutely. Of it, and in order to make it, let's say, more harmonized for the proper usage, I think for governments also needs to be proactive rather than reactive, and at the same time, the companies needs to think about how to bring it to masses easier, simpler, in a better, convenient way.
I think you've mentioned a good list over there, and you've actually touched upon the important things. If you go across the globe for anything you want to develop, if you don't have a positive, active government participation in anything you want to do, it's not going to work out easily. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to do it, you'll be able to make some strides, but you'll be always challenged. So I had the benefit to work in various parts of the world, right, in Europe as well. And usually you see the private sector is leading over there. The government trails back, until now as we speak. That's normally how it is. The problem is reversed over here, where we have the government is actually leading and making it difficult for a private sector actually to follow up, to be honest with you. But it's a very good problem to have, because now you fix the regulation part of it. So if we address the regulation in terms of making sure how do you take care of data and data privacy and security and so forth, you made it now very easier for other companies to come and follow and work with you as the government. So the government is pulling you to make it happen. So if you address the regulation, you now pave the way to happen. The other challenge is capacity building. You don't have a lot of people who are in the space of understanding cryptocurrencies in terms of developing of it. Of course, there are a lot of people out there, no doubt about that, but we already have a huge shortage globally when it comes to data science, developing people in cryptos and so forth, and particularly also blockchains. So these are the two key things over there. I agree with the points what you mentioned about the UI and so forth. So what does it mean? If your backend is very solid, but if your front end is not user-friendly, I may not use the service. Remember, one of the things Amazon have done, or let me go and talk about, first of all, the Apple story. All of you probably heard about the golden circle of Apple. Apple says, whatever I develop a product, it should be usable by the people. So when you engineer thinking about developing a product, it has to be you putting yourself in the shoes of the clients. Similarly, Amazon, they came up with developing their products. Now, if you want to buy a product on Amazon, if it was not smooth clicks and quick clicks, you will be interrupted, and that used to be happening. You know, the amount of business Amazon was losing based on their earlier algorithm was about 45%. So they wanted to buy the product, but because it took another click and something happened, interrupted, it did not work, did not go. So it's very important that when you develop that strong backend on using blockchain, your front end has to be very smooth for people to for adoption to happen. And that's why we have various government apps earlier on, and so you have to log into many apps. Now they created one app called Dubai One, and you just can't get all your government services done over there. So you made it very easier. So there are a lot of issues. And then, of course, one other thing is your IT infrastructure in companies is not there. So you need to work on that thing. Last but not the least, and very important one, if you don't have the vision of making it happen, it will not happen.
I love that. Welcome.
Yes, we had also a unique situation because actually I'm living on the Lake of Constance, and there we have that uniqueness that we can access 4 different countries within, let's say, 15 minutes. And Switzerland turned out to be very liberal in terms of crypto. And then we found out MiCA came, and so there were certain regulations, which of course it would not help us if we have a global distribution system built on blockchain, and we would be blocked on the border for legal reasons. And especially because when you're in the field of talking about a stablecoin, there are certain regulations which you have to follow. And for our due diligence, it was very important that we respect all the legal parts, which even if they are not here yet, they will come. So it was actually quite interesting things to read through 300 pages and try to understand where the government wants to go with this. One was very clear, it's not going to be good for all of us. So. Of course, there has to be a clear line between financial services which want to be controlled by governments and on the other side, staying on the side of reward systems and, well, what is not a currency. And so we found a way how we can basically respect all the situation, and we found a way that the human is actually also a very interesting part in the blockchain community, and it can help to stabilize an asset, in our case, our stablecoin. So there are certain things you can implement if you have a community, and the community only get if you have a good project. And I agree, you have to have a vision, and it has to be an important vision, which I think we have, and so therefore we're on an exciting way, and actually at the moment we don't find any problems, so we're very happy that it exists.
That's really good to know, and I feel your pain with MiCA. I have to go through it page by page. But just on that note, so you'll be able to resolve the stablecoin issue without the reverse solicitation, or are you classifying it as a utility token?
Well, if we would sell a stable token, we would be under a different animal, but we're not selling a stable token, we're actually selling food, and the stable token is for free.
Because if you take it as a currency, then it's going to come under a MiCA-R, which is getting implemented by December 30th. The chapter 2 and 3 actually getting implemented by June this year.
Correct, yes. So that's a very interesting approach. I really like how you resolve that issue. Aditya.
Yeah, if you ask me about challenges in healthcare industry, I have more challenges than successes in this industry, so I have a chance to speak about. Initially, when we started this project a few years back, we started with the enterprise level, like Hyperledger, initially implementing on that. But later, once we started collecting the data, we thought we have to incentivize the patients in some way, so we have to implement tokenization on top of it. So we actually scrapped the Hyperledger and we came up with another layer 0, layer 1 kind of products. We started working on Ethereum, Polygon, and other things like that. But obviously, we know that any hospital setup everywhere, we have to connect with a lot of IoT devices. We need to get like constant feed of the data so that we could actually make the transactions happen on the blockchain. Otherwise, it would be a centralized transaction in general. So but then there's also a biggest challenge, that is we are not just a blockchain company or a IoT device company, we are more of a data analytics company. So actually accessing the data on the blockchain very quickly, so we had to come with a hybrid cloud where we connect with the centralized cloud servers with our private keys that's coming from the patient. So, and also after going through all this, you still have how you can collect the data from the patients. You have to get the consent forms from the patients, and then you have to get how we use the data and how you can notify this patient. So I think all in all, it was not just, the challenge was not about just the blockchain that we faced. Actually, there are so many things around it that we have been seeing. It's the entire implementation of the patient journey. It's a bad word, but it's the patient journey. Yeah, we have to look into, look in where we can implement blockchain, how we can take the data, and how we can actually make sure that it's regularized, it's following the regulatory hurdles. At the same time, analyze it and get the regulatory approvals as well. So I think it's just one area that we are looking at. If you look at other areas in how we do collect the data from the patients, how we incentivize them, there are a lot of hurdles in terms of how we implement in a B2B situation. But if we have support from the government where so many things are pretty clear, and you can have like small pieces of integration, and then we can actually make it work. I think as rightly said from Maher, it has to be first from the government. It makes more easier for a lot of corporates to actually catch on, and then blockchain should be top of the mind in general. That's the idea we believe in the healthcare space.
Thank you.
Yeah. So in financial way, the gap between the users and the technology is the education that they lack, and it's so hard for a normal user to teach or educate them about the technology behind blockchain. So it's, when it comes to allowing them to utilize the technology, I have been following and utilizing a payment card which accepts or makes crypto payments. So the difference between a normal credit card or a debit card, so the flow is the same as similar, but the entire flow behind it is different. So this is what we believe to cover up the gap between the users, is to give the technology that already exists, but the reason or the backend, as you said, behind it should be different or should be improved. So either introducing as a new technology, a better way to educate them is to improvisation of what exactly there is. So that would be a better reach, and that would resolve the educational gap between a normal user or a non-crypto user. That's one of what I believe will be an achievement for the technology behind blockchain.
Thank you so much. We only have 8 minutes left, and I would like to use the last few minutes to basically pick your brains on where do you see blockchain going? And I think from my point of view, I see blockchain emerging with other technologies. It should not be seen in isolation. But do you think that the adoption is finally going to go through the hurdles and start going to more accepted without a lot of the barriers that we're currently facing? George?
Yeah, for that kind of thing, in my opinion, there's a so-called, I don't know if I translated correctly, lakmus test, if it's the same, yeah, in English. So then the lakmus test is ROI. If people who have money to invest understand that each technology implementation or use case makes money in the future, then it's gonna develop in that direction. In this kind of thing, obviously, we have a tendency or history to make bad investments as well, but bad investment is also an investment which just teaches a lesson, and if you think about it, the lesson that is being taught is also a return on that investment, where the return is not necessarily in monetary value. And I believe that blockchain in specific industries will have to go through that lakmus test, like if it makes sense to use blockchain, because I don't like the idea of just sticking the blockchain everywhere where it might not doesn't belong, and where centralized systems could be solving and have solved this similar problem in a much more efficient way. And once that analysis will be done, once the lessons going to be taught, that's how the blockchain will evolve in a better direction, in industries where it really makes sense
Yes.
them to be. So I believe in the next 10 to 15 years, we're just gonna see maybe fewer but better implementations of blockchain technology.
I think blockchain will evolve after 15 years. Probably we have a different name for blockchain in 15 years' time, to be honest with you. However, I think wherever you have a lot of data, particularly financial industries, which has been one of the early adopters of blockchains, because if you don't have, the benefit you get in terms of adopting blockchain, because you're able to reduce your costs very quickly. You're able to have centralized databases rather than having so many databases for you. So whoever have huge databases, they'll be able to benefit from applying there. So I think one of the probably more further progress going to happen in using the blockchain, adoption of blockchain would be DeFi. Because you still have about 3.5 billion people completely unbanked. They cannot even open bank accounts. So if you look at something called Ant Financials, which is part of Alibaba's umbrella, they're the first actually to adopt it. And that's why today is the biggest and the fastest growing financial services, which is not a bank. So, and that will further develop as well. With IoT combined with that, that will also further develop over there. With advent of AI being there along, which will help us in terms of understanding data. People, despite sitting on a lot of data, still need to do some analysis on it, analytics, which is the data science of that thing. How do you then bring the machine learning, or deep learning first of all, before even machine learning, of using this data to make it more convenient for you to use it when it comes from the blockchain perspective. So for example, health perspective that we use over here, you have a lot of data, and you've got patient data on records. Why can't we use AI on them and predict what's going to happen next to every single patient to the per minute? It's possible. Similarly for other industries. So DeFi is going to be very big. AI collaboration will be very high over there. Interoperability is going to be a huge thing. But for that to happen, you need to have leaders of countries who will lead that thing. So UAE, one of the pillars they have when they established blockchain, how did it become an international player, collaborating with all the governments so they can actually export this technology and use it collaboratively. So you'll be able to exchange the data and use the data both import and export basis.
Well, I believe that in the future, in the next few years or months even, that if governments will bring in CDBCs and other types of things,
Another topic for another day.
Yeah,
sorry, I opened that.
And only 3 minutes left.
Okay. No, it's. I feel like the blockchain will develop in the direction, hopefully, that what we've seen in the past in the internet. It was in the beginning, it was just there for some people to use in the red light district kinds of stuff, and then we evolved into another world, and I believe the same will come with blockchain. At the moment, it's used for a lot of coin bump and dump and stuff, and if you talk about coin and stuff, many people say, "Oh, please go away with that." And I believe that within the next few years we will be confronted with blockchain, and I believe it will not go away. I don't think it's future. If it will be still named blockchain, or I don't know.
A different name, but a better technology.
Yeah.
Very valuable points, Aditya.
Yeah, actually, for the last few years, the blockchain adoption in healthcare has been increasing, but unfortunately, it's a niche industry, and the interest in the blockchain, or the growth in the blockchain has been 100% correlated with the cryptocurrency prices. So, which is very unfortunate for us, because we try to implement something and suddenly they lose interest in the market because the cryptocurrency prices are down, and then we have to still keep working on the same product and then wait until the next wave comes in, and so that we create some interest in it. So that way, that's one of the biggest challenges that we see right now, is the continuous interest in the blockchain implementations, or problem solving has not been there. Every time a wave comes for cryptocurrencies, people get interested and a lot of participation comes in, and otherwise it kinds of leaves and then decouples for a time, and then again they come back into the picture. So that's one of the challenges we see, but I think overall we believe in it. I think we have been trusting that there's a huge work needs to be done here in terms of blockchain, and then we think it's here to stay.
So from my point of view, what I know is in 10 to 15 years, like what we have is multiple brands of clothing, multiple brands of phones. As well, we will have entirely different sector of blockchains where that targeted particular industry, or in a single industry, we will have multiple blockchains where we would show interest in based on the features or based on what exactly they are providing. If it is in this, we will provide an offer or whatever the get backs or rewards which we will receive. And in addition, there will be an omni chain, which would be a layer for every other chains. So which will be the communication protocol or an interoperability between every networks or every blockchain networks there will be. And so this is what I see. As we have multiple countries and multiple technologies on each and every network or areas, so there will be a lot of networks and a lot of layers that we could all rely on. And as said, we will resolve or reduce the use of papers.
Perfect. So we're really good in time. I think I'll conclude by, there is a future for blockchain. Maybe the future is blockchain. I thank you all for your time and for the very interesting panel discussion. I personally learned a lot beyond financial services. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Maher, for being an amazing moderator.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Group picture.